They've gotten rid of Barney off that stage. His square has descended and he's allowed back to the green room. He can have a drink of water, get refreshed, because it is about to get messy.
Let's get it going. Game number 4, back to Erangel, and time to see who's ready to perform and who is ready, well, to drop the ball. It's going to be a fun one without question. Fourth Rise, been looking for them to step it up. They're not doing too bad necessarily. 18 points, 9th place, but first place, after all, with Alter Ego is just at 28. Very doable. It's only day 1, 3 games in. No alarm bells ringing just yet. Maybe we'll start some tomorrow when we get into game 4, 5, and 6. I do want to see Horta, though, do a lot better than where they currently are at 13. I really think that's a roster that performed very, very well throughout the group stages, obviously throughout the survival stages. But today, been falling a bit flat. And the same could be said for Team Falcons, who obviously the home team going for that club championship race. That's a roster that needs a top 8 finish. Right now in 15th, just 1 spot away from the bottom.
It's not friendly to be down there. Of course, you've got 18 matches left to play. It's a longer set than the 12 we've been used to seeing for each of our teams over the survival stage, over those group stages as well. So a little bit more leeway on these slightly lower than expectations performances. But hopefully they can pick up the pace here in match number 4 on the day, as our top players do slide on past our eyeballs. You can see Al Haji, with the support from his father, of course, having a good time. Circle pops, and we're heading out to the east side of Erangel.
Love this zone. I think it's going to be a bit spicy for the military zone players. Well, they get a little bit of a profit, I think, at least for 2 teams, if I'm not mistaken, who consistently land down over at military. Maybe we throw in a third, but you do have to kind of start thinking ahead of the game, man. At that that eastern bridge might be a bit spicy, but here tonight, what do we see?
Fireflux and Horror both will come into contact with one another on their, maybe not a hot drop, but on those vehicles. They are going to get contested. At the moment, there is a knock sent over towards Horror, but Fireflux playing on as 3, as they have had a player confirmed down and out. That is not good news to kick things off, especially given where the circle has fallen on this east side. Yeah,
without a doubt. And for Fireflux especially, being all the way at the bottom, I feel they have had some shining moments throughout our tournament, but today they've fallen very flat, and already losing a player is going to put their backs even further against the wall. What looks to be getting their teammate back up into the fight, so that's going to be good news for them. A team, again, that performed very well throughout the previous days, looking to step it up here. Sleepy is going to be split off in the distance. Luckily for him, he's going to be just fine. Nobody looking to contest. We do have Power and Ragnum Karya relatively close. Now, we did notice one of the interesting things about Power is no placement points, but they're still up there in the top 4 because of the eliminations.
Ooh, maybe another elim for Ida, but no, not quite able to connect. Yeah, absolutely correct. The desk was highlighting it as well, of course, with Power not able to get into the placements on any of their 3 matches, but still being in the top 5 is insane, right? And they are right on the doorstep of potentially doing a little bit more. So if they're able to do this in these early game scraps, a much more heavy elimination focus, taking inspiration from the likes of IHC a couple of years back and making sure that they are primarily focused in these scenarios. If they can get into these late games, if they can get a chicken dinner or 2 on board, bolster up those placements, it is a fearsome roster to be worried about. As we hop on board with the Falcons, though, up towards Pachinki. They don't have any contest here, but it has not been a nice sight to see if you're a Falcons fan, and I know there's plenty out there in the arena.
That's right.
And they aren't going to be too happy with them for the time being. 2 points average on the games they've played, that's not good.
But we got to appreciate having Pachinki to yourselves. For Falcons, that's plenty of loot they're going to have, especially going into the next zone, which is getting tightly contested. For Falcons, they should have an easy transition in, depending on where DRX chooses to land. And, well, for DRX, they're going to leave 1 player out and maybe be the scout for the roster. See how that ends up unfolding. For Power's sake, though, they continue to move central zone, where Ragnum Karya are currently at. Fireflux and Nogsham Red Force not far behind. Could get a little bit spicy as a lot of vehicles are moving, teams are traveling, and they're starting to lock in those hardcover POIs.
Power Esports drawing up in the garage there. They will be playing all 3 of them stopping off on the building. They are sending another further on out. We get a replay. This is that hot drop. Matcap, okay. It was 2 players with knives. And in the end, Sky was able to tag him for 1, and then Sleepy chefed him up something awful over in the garage there. Only the pistol to defend, and that's not good news.
Could have been scary. Rosemary opposite of AJ from ThunderTalk. All top out. That was a great placement, and in fact, it's going to end up in a drop. AJ putting in work early on. Full health, mind you. He can truly do a lot of damage to this Alter Egos roster up ahead.
ThunderTalk bolstering their position as well, with King sidling on forwards. Alter Ego trying to pull Rosemary back to his feet there. They are going to put a lot of investment into it, but Moana, goes for the nade and flushes his own teammate out. That is not a good start for Alter Ego to try and defend this top spot on the table. And now it's ThunderTalk looking to keep this pace going. All 4 of them now in situ, and they can play on a numbers advantage. A little bit split for Alter Ego. Alva under a lot of pressure there. The reload needs to come through. Can he connect with the auto shotty?
He stays in the corner. Dodging those jump shots, goes for the retreat, and is successful in getting some distance between them, which means he can reposition and fight the duo of ThunderTalk. That fight still going to be well underway, and he's going to continue to distance himself, maybe get an off angle onto AJ. It pays off. The down is in, but the 2 members from ThunderTalk are hot on his heels.
They're still on the outside of the wall, though, and with King falling, this means that nobody is forward for ThunderTalk. They're now trapped on the outside, out in the cold, and ThunderTalk are getting rinsed right now.
Rinsed indeed, but I love that angle from King. Alva, play this very, very carefully. Even if ThunderTalk wins this fight, like you said, they are in dire straits, and I really do think that's a huge oversight. This duo should have pushed up on him and taken him down. Having Alva on that off angle was detrimental to ThunderTalk. Obviously, your duo ends up falling, and now you're leaving. You gain 0 value. The timid fights do not work out if you want to be a champion.
I mean, much like the Omnidroid from The Incredibles, right? The only thing tough enough to take down an Alter Ego player in this match is themselves. The only thing that has taken one of them down fully is that team nade. And that's not the sort of coordination that you want to see coming on through, especially in Mill to Power on a circle like this. You know, it's so important to have everybody alive in a central location in these early circles, right? You want to transition in towards the late game. They've pushed up towards 30 points, though. And they will be okay for the time being, and playing on a 3. Not the end of the world.
Not the end of the world, but see how that game ends up unfolding. Smile barely, just a nick of health, and manages to get away. Team Secret applying the pressure. Yangon Galacticus, Team Secret rotating maybe up north, then dropping down south through, yes, Naya. Team Secret could get a drop on them if they continue to progress forward, which could be great for playing a gatekeeper role. For now, just trying to heal up and just really recover for Team Secret, though, unfortunately. I think they're going to lose at least 1 into blue, if I'm not mistaken. For Barnett, though, he's moving up.
So are the rest of the team. At least several of them are trying to go in pursuit here, hopping out, going for the spray. Zerus has to divert, send back behind the headland. Is there an off-angle hop out? No. But the blue zone will do a little bit more damage here. We're only at stage 1, so this is very, very survivable on these rotates. It's not really going to do much more to them, and those sims already on the bar there for Zerus mean that he's going to stay very, very healthy here unless a couple more shots connect, which it doesn't look like they're going to. Sending over the north side of the Yaz Lake. I imagine that Yangon Galacticos is going to divert. Not too keen to go in behind them, but we'll have to wait and see. The plane path, sorry, the next circle just about to come on through.
Yeah, Yangon Galacticus, I thought we're going to take the roadway and then cut through, but SayCloud has stayed up top. He wants presence behind Team Secret. Meanwhile, the other 3 are in fact going to go in succession down low, and SayCloud does deviate away, maybe wanting to stay in Team Secret's mindsets, but getting tightly contested in the southern portion. And E-Arena versus Falcons, a team that's been on the struggle bus, or E-Arena. I love the way that they've been playing. Granted, today, they've been falling flat, so this fight critical for both rosters.
E-Arena disengaged from that one. They had the numbers advantage. Perhaps they were reading too much into the circle. They thought if we can't conclude this fight immediately, there's a third-party potential. But they had a massive advantage in that fight. Only 2 of the Falcons were on the inside. I'm not too sure about the decision to disengage it, but we'll see how they can play on from here. Meantime, Power looking to rack up even more elims. They're now up to 1 on the tables, and that's going to put them up on 26 with no placement points.
Taking down Noxium Red Force would be huge for them, mind you. I really feel, based off of that last play in the last map where Noxium Red Force had center zone, had the hard cover POI and pushed out, I feel that was a massive oversight. potentially starting to get into their own heads. So for Power, pushing this fight could be big. For Weibo, well, we can't even stay upright. We got 4 wheels. Well, they decide to use 2.
They're going to maintain course, though, self-righting, going all the way out west for a wide wrap from Weibo to go out on that west side bridge. APG, they're ahead. Alpha Gaming will send over that east side bridge, fairly uncontested now, and they are sending up north. Yeah, this is just the continuing long rotate from Weibo to go out to all the way on that west side. They're getting across the bridge. They'll be pushing in from around Potato Hill, but don't expect to see them for another 2 minutes.
That's right. We won't see them for a long time. For APG, well, you saw what the game plan was. They were setting up to gatekeep Weibo. So this long rotate, in my opinion, was critical for Weibo. They only had one choice, and that was to take the western side bridge. For APG, they don't see any Weibo members. Okay, we move on out and start to progress towards Milta, maybe towards Power. Meanwhile, though, we do have Regnum Karya potentially setting up a trap on Hora, who's going to be up just ahead. A team that played so well through the early stages, now struggling today.
I mean, they're sequestered right up into the cliffs over Prison. It does severely limit their sightlines here for Regnum Karya. They're going to have to try just gather that info from the sound. They have got that outpost Silas a little bit disparate from them. We'll be rotating around, feeding back a little bit more info. But for the time being, they are a little bit crunched in here. Hora a little bit less so. They've got a little bit more leeway on the side of that Prison cliff face. Teams trying to get central. Nobody really getting too aggy with it just now. It's only ThunderTalk who have lost 2 players and a couple of those earlier elims coming on through as well.
See DRX off in the distance. They've got a couple of teams in their line of sights. Like you said, nobody getting aggro just yet. We see a zone shift up towards the north. For the majority of teams, they're already pretty much sequestered where they currently are. For the rosters like Power, APG, ThunderTalk, the duo, Alter Egos. Weibo finally starting to get their first member out of the blue zone as they head up towards north through school. Maybe even towards Yangon Galacticus. But everybody rotating in. I'm hearing a lot more shots this time around. No surprise for Falcons. Oh, I'm hoping Regnum Karya does not crash into him, and it looks like they're not going to. Even Silas taking too much damage for his own good.
Yeah, crashing in on that position with the number of third parties available. Maybe a death sentence, but instead they turn over towards the dip, and it's 4 Thrives who are eating lead left and right. That is nasty. The team from Pakistan is going to be eliminated very, very quickly.
4 Thrives get melted off the map. You know, a team that dominated throughout group stage, struggling today. We questioned those days off throughout survival stage. Would it be helpful? Would it not? Well, for 4 Thrives, they need to get their legs back underneath them. But Power's also rotating in. Ragnar taking a ton of damage. We got Wild also falling. Ragnar now down. Haji getting active. Ida's gonna fall. It's just a mass amount of teams and bodies on the ground in this area. Haji getting the cleanup. Starkin up ahead, cooking a nade, and this nade, if placed right, could be devastating to Power.
Darkin unleashes it over towards Fadan. The bounce is good, and it will connect for the knock. Haji now, the last player alive for Power. They have 4 elims. They'll want a little bit more, and he's now got a nade cooking. They know where Ida is playing, and nobody's getting out of this dip unscathed. The nade goes long, and Darkin pushes forwards. Haji around the smoke, goes for the spray, and of course he connects it, but there's the shutdown from the off angle. Fireflux shut everything down, and there is no one alive.
We just lost 3 teams just like that in one engagement. Fireflux playing spoiler, and we'll talk on that in just a second. Team Secret now against Alter Egos. You called it. Caster Curse, nobody getting aggro. Well, now we got everyone getting aggro all at the same time. Krypton going to pick up Ayala over in the corner, and another team has been lost. We just lost 4 teams in the span of about 45 seconds.
That was insane. 4 teams went into that dip, and none of them got out of it. It was insane.
Wow.
It was being held, I believe, originally by 4 Thrives.
Yes.
Then both Regnum Karya and Ida crashed in at the same time, and then Power lapped in over the top. Wow. Fireflux were just like, this is ridiculous, guys. You need to chill out. They put them in the cooler, and it's going to maintain Power's record of getting no placement points, but they still get 5 elims on this match.
It's such a bummer, though, for Power, because Haji is the last one standing. He's the champion of the team fights. 4 teams in one area, and then Fireflux says, hey, good job, buddy. I got you. Take some right down. Either way, like you said, 5 elims. You got to be happy with that. For Alter Egos at 5 themselves, and of course, another zone shift going to be taking place. But yeah, that was probably one of the craziest fights we've seen today.
Absolutely insane stuff. A hard south shift, and this is going to help out teams like DRX, like Falcons, if they can hold their nerve out in the open. A lot of open ground, right? We saw how difficult it is to approach this Falcons position. When it gets closer and closer on the circle, it gets slightly easier, right? Because there's fewer and fewer positions that sit around them that can take those third-party shots. There's fewer teams that are potentially going to third-party on towards you. So Falcons, their strength is really good right now in terms of position, but that will start to falter when the teams around them start to get involved, start to get dropped. But I'm expecting to see them into this one deep, potentially up to stage 6.
I was looking at this ThunderTalk. We see a replay coming in. This is the team secret fight versus alter egos, and Xerus is putting in work, but it was Krypton who was able to even up the odds, silence Team Secret, and send them packing to the next game. Weibo, ThunderTalk finally back on your screen, and well, not for long as one is taken down immediately.
PEL derby right now between Weibo and ThunderTalk, but it seems pretty clean, done and dusted. 3 players alive for Weibo and 1 for ThunderTalk. Together they make a full team, but there's no cooperation here. It's Xing sending off into the horizon.
Xing is gone. ThunderTalk's been in survival mode since the early goings of this game. 2 eliminations. You're not too happy with that. Maybe some placement points will help you out. Doc with a great angle. Maybe surprise some members from DRX up ahead if you can get a line of sight on them. Nobody can be seen just yet, but Doc is a guy that's sneaky, and if he sees you, he's taking you down.
Nongshim Red Force, they've got 2 players alive, 1 further back. Let's hope that they can do a little bit better, although with only 2 players right on the edge here, it's going to be difficult. That shelter position can keep them alive for quite a while. Xing takes a couple of shots over towards Seoul, who's actually going to reposition away from this one, but Xing has to push a little bit further in. He's going to go into the wake of APG, so Alpha Gaming going to actually allow this rotate to happen.
He fired a couple of shots, nearly getting it down. The fact that he's still alive is incredible. This is where Doc was, I believe, and actually, excuse me, Doc's going to be on the opposite side. And so this Doc will stay where he's currently at to overlook everybody who's going to be up. You got DRX still up in the distance. So DRX in a pretty precarious spot, if I had to say so, because Nongshim Red Force is over there. They have a presence. And then you also have another one from a distance. Xing narrowly avoiding getting squashed. 33Z hops out. And finally, ThunderTalk will fall. Again, surviving for the longest time. But one by one, they were picked apart until they were finally eliminated.
And in their wake, this rotate will be pursued down by Hora, who are going to move out now to this southeast side. All 4 of their players are alive, and they're looking for a good game here. Having underperformed so far in the first 3 matches, they're going to try and take on so PEL representatives, as they are going to try and find that rat back around. The smoke's keeping them safe, but both of these 2 teams are actually right up and against the blue zone. Hora overextending now, and they are going to fold back in towards themselves, play that east side. They actually lose a player to Krypton over on that north edge, so they can't really afford to place too much pressure on this south side.
The question is, do they? Hora continues to get closer and closer. Krypton maybe tempting that he wants to get away. Alva has dipped himself. But Krypton will continue to fight. And, you know, he's a scary player. 4 eliminations already, John. And a guy that can very well take down the entirety of the Hora roster if they're not careful. For Sky, he needs to keep his head on a swivel. He's going to be the one to truly shut down Krypton if he makes an attempt to maybe challenge No Fear and Sleepy up ahead.
Chance there. With 4 elims, Krypton is pumping today. Doing a lot of work for the roster, but with only 2 players against the 3, they do have the disadvantage. They're on the outskirts as well. Their options fairly limited. I wouldn't be too surprised to see them try and sweep up north. With Hora pushing into the tower, they're going to be a little bit less mobile, not going to be as easily able to go in pursuit, but they could equally try and find Sky, and that looks like maybe what they're going to try and do here. Wrap back around, play on the backside here, and open up a window of opportunity for themselves. But Weibo Gaming are just over that ridgeline, and Krypton in danger now. Sky has to go for the reload, and it's actually barely low on ammo here.
Oh, but yeah, it was Alva. So the car was a distraction. Alva was pushing up, but now he's getting pressure by Hora as they push in. Alva, a sliver of health, taken down by No Fear. Krypton now damage control. He's got Weibo to his flanks, so now you've got one alter ego member of Krypton right smack dab in between Weibo and the Hora roster. So Hora got to make a decision. Who do we challenge first? Krypton to solo, Weibo up ahead. Do we disengage and maybe go a little bit further into zone? I would not want to be them making that decision.
If I'm Weibo, I'm letting the blue zone handle Krypton, and I think it's a similar call for Hora right now. You just need to negotiate.
Do they know he's
wait
there?
for him to leave. They should know, right? He's taken shots back over towards Hora earlier on in that engagement. So they should know that there's a player down this hill. You don't need to put this much pressure on. This is overexposing potentially to the Hora position. And Order's getting a little bit froggy.
Yeah, he definitely is. He definitely is. No fears right there. Ready to apex this hill. Krypton to the right. This is going to get spicy indeed. Nade cooking. Krypton going on the attack. Surely No Fear takes down Krypton in this moment, but no, Krypton's going to be free and clear to make this push up. He finally starts to take a little bit of damage, and rightly so. It was No Fear along with Order who takes him down, Order getting the elimination. Now, Weibo can put all their eggs in one basket and focus on Hora, who's up ahead.
They can try and now turn and get ahead of this one. They do still have a couple of players in tow. They've got that outpost down to the southwest side in 33Z, who's been scouting, who's been gathering that information. Hora, they've been locked into this fight for a while. Looking at the rest of the circle, meanwhile, Falcons, they've been chilling in their building for a long, long time now. They have managed to rack up 3 Elim points and actually make that maybe a couple more as the nades land over towards Fireflux. They're going to have to think about getting out of this business, though, for the time being. They are right on the edge of the circle. They'll be safe for now. DRX have been holding out on the southwest for a nice while as well, but Yangon Galacticos going to be putting pressure on. I feel like that's the next crash coming on through, and SayCloud's going to send it.
Yeah, absolutely going to be the next fight. Falcons, mind you, also focused on Fireflux over here in the shed. They took a little bit of damage from DRX. In fact, Redox is going to fall once again. Scarface getting some shots. SayCloud onto Quiz. You mentioned it, Yangon Galactica starting to push up, but they've also taken some damage, a downed player, so they're going to have to go at it 3 strong. So we have an immense amount of fights. Falcons versus Fireflux, Yangon Galacticus going against DRX, and the winners potentially controlling the entirety of the western portion of zone.
It's going to be really difficult to move as Falcons when Yangon Galacticos or DRX are able to claim this one, but so far nobody is dead on that southwest border. All the teams there have 4 players alive, both of them maintaining the entire roster. Alpha could potentially have an impact here with Top and Seoul on the south side, but I imagine they're going to be thinking more about going east. You can see Top trying to hold face, and around this shelter entrance, it's just nobody making that first move right now, and they can chill out for a little bit longer with the circle.
APG can be truly punishing to DRX. The only thing stopping them from shooting, I believe, are the smokes. They just can't get the line of sight. But Top should have infinite vision. In fact, he's going to get active. So there's going to be Top on one full finish on one DRX member who's now starts to push up. This gives an opportunity for Yangon Galacticus to start firing at DRX as well. Weibo says enough is enough. Takes down an APG member. 33Z also taking a tremendous amount of damage. It comes to show you literally nobody is safe. And Weibo on the outskirts of zone, fully eliminated.
It's in circles like this that you've got to think potentially Fireflux could have a chance if this fight on the southwest side doesn't conclude, but it looks like Yangon have isolated their entrance and will be playing on fairly convincingly. SayCloud very likely to get this knock on the Horman. That should be an easy pickup for them behind the rock, sure, but you have to dash out to try and find that res, and with only Joker left standing, they don't have a lot of time to get this one.
Currently, Yangon Galacticus have a beautiful spot where they are at. If the zone favors them on the next shift, they are going to be set up very nicely to control the end game. Of course, depending on what DRX and APG decide to do from their current position. For Falcons, they refuse to move, but now they have to start going a little bit more forward, which means E-Arena are very much ready for them. But the good news is Mormon was taken down just a little bit ago. He's down but not out, and E-Arena have to make a decision. Do we want the pickup? Well, now they don't have a choice. Sakura also gone. Romeo taking him out, so YG getting active, and now Ralph says, I'm pushing up. I'm taking the advantage in the mid zone. Here comes the Falcons.
The north side now could conclude, and the Falcons may have all the leverage they need to try and leapfrog south. But you can see how flat and open it is, which gives Yangon Galacticos so much power, so many sightlines over towards E-Arena especially. Romeo is laying down the law from the high ground there. DRX want the challenge. They've gone out of the other entrance, and now they're trying to try and maintain that high ground with their 3 players moving on in. But no, it's Hora doing a lot of work, but Hyunbin still has a little bit more gas left in the tank. Unfortunately, he will draw short, and QZ across the way Gonna have to try and hide now behind the rocks, but will be pushed by that blue zone. DRX on the precipice.
And it looks like Falcons, E Arena are also popping up against each other. Joker is going to fall, so is Sakura. Fully eliminated. E Arena are out of there. And now Falcons have a good foothold on the northern part of the zone. So really, Falcons, Yangon Galacticos in an absolute power spot, you would have to assume, unless the solo from DRX can dismantle piece by piece the Yangon Galacticos roster just up ahead. And let's not forget Scarface, another solo for Fireflux, who's going to be dead center. Falcons get blessed by zone. Yangon Galacticos now have to push up, and so does Hora.
With this zone, it keeps this little hill that you can see in front of Koa inside this zone. And you're right, they are getting blessed. But if Redox keeps going down like this, it's going to get a little bit more tenuous here on the northern side. Redox not happy. Behind the wall for Falcons to flex back out. I don't know if they can commit to this. They'd have to expend a lot of smokes. In the meantime, Yangon Galacticos, they are going to have to make a move.
Yes, they got to push forward, and there's a lot of open space. They've been hanging out next to this cave for the longest time. I don't blame them, but now the time to get active is in, and you got No Fear, who's been doing such a great job from a distance, being detrimental to each and every roster he's come across. So he's going to be the X factor for me for the Hora roster, at least when Yangon Galactica starts to rotate over. For the solo from DRX, I don't know if he's going to be able to survive this. I really don't. But for him, all eyes on YG, who now start to move forward. This is going to answer our question of who takes this game. If Yangon Galacticos get mowed down now by Falcons, it is going to be all Falcons for the victory.
With Ralph moving out to the west side to go for the res onto Redox, they're actually west side bolstered right now on the Falcons roster. So Yangon Galacticos potentially picking the wrong time to go for this one. And with Hora on that sideswipe, this road crossing is nigh on untraversable. As Hora actually going to try and backfill on this rotate and play on the south side. This could be a great play coming through from Hora. They'll finally get rid of Scarface, who was on a sliver of HP, and now it seems to be a two-horse race.
If I'm Falcons, I'm paying close attention to Hora starting to move up. Fireflux are now gone. We're getting deep into it. Only 4 more teams remain, and really one of them is inconsequential. It's only a solo from DRX. A mini red zone starting to form. Say Cloud trying to get back onto his feet. Smile desperately needs this. Yangon Galacticos with the desperation push forward gets picked apart. Romeo down, and it's Falcons from Koa taking him out.
A little ridgeline to play around. A couple of vehicles keeping them safe from Hora for the time being. Yangon Galacticos may be able to stay up as 2, but Smile down behind that vehicle. And that crate has been beautiful for No Fear. He's going to try and get a little bit more, though. They're putting pressure onto the Falcons because of the rotate out to the west side to deal with that res, to get Yangon Galacticos out of the mix. Hora taking the timing of this very, very well, and they get that flex out to the side, but Falcons are piecing themselves back together and out over towards Narvalo. Koa finds that retreat, and things simmer down.
No Fear has been the guy, the linchpin for the Hora roster, and now he has totally caught Redux and Ralph off guard. They know where he's at, but he still has such a great advantage. Now this rotate's going to be big, and Koa is going to knock down one. A second is also going to fall. Hora starting to collapse. No Fear needs to get active. A Hail Mary attempt, but is this Falcons? It looks to be the case. No Fear, does he have it in him to clutch this up while he continues to push up? Falcons can hit the shots needed, but they finally do it, and Falcons will get their first win during this, the grand final stage.
A big finish for the Falcons. The north side control was great. That first rotation on in to the mansion to play on that location. They held ground, and on the north side, nobody challenged them. I felt like Hora maybe were able to slip the noose there, but in the end, they were hung out to dry, and that is a beautiful way to close it down. A nice chunk of elims as well added on to the Falcons count. But not only that, Yangon Galacticos, they're pulling down numbers in that final serve.
Without a doubt, and you can also give their flowers over to Hora. Hora needed some points. They were down in 13th place at the start of the game. Getting that second is going to be massive. And while the same thing could be said for Fireflux, surviving as long as they did, yes, it's not going to be a tremendous amount, but it's at least a start. It's something. It gives you new life. It's only game number 4, 2 more to go today, and therefore a big chance to rise up